Let's turn to the chairman of the House Foreign Affairs Committee, Republican Congressman Ed Royce of California. Congressman, thanks so much for joining us on this Easter Sunday.
Thank you, Jake.
So the New York Times reports that President Obama started a secret program to sabotage with electronic warfare North Korea's missile program. The Times writes that, quote, the North's launch failure rate has been extraordinarily high since Mr. Obama first accelerated the program, unquote. Do you think U.S. action here, covert action, is the reason why this missile launch failed?
You know, I think there's a couple of possibilities. That's one of them. But I would say that we shouldn't take too much comfort, because even in failure, this program continues to advance. And they will be closely, in the not too distant future, in a position where they could hit all 50 states in the United States with an ICBM. So I do say don't take too much comfort in this, but it is a good development that it failed.
Dana Bash is reporting this morning from Seoul, South Korea, that the U.S. was concerned the North Koreans might try to test a nuclear device. That has not happened yet. Do you think that the North Koreans still might try that, even with Vice President Pence on the peninsula?
Well, we do think that they may try that. I mean, this would be the 6th test that they would do. And of course, there's additional pressure now that we've put on China. I passed legislation last year through the House that was signed into law, which is a North Korean Sanctions Act, which now was actually taken up by the Security Council as well. And that puts additional pressure on neighboring countries such as China not to transfer to North Korea. We have found that, unfortunately, China has continued to transfer some of the parts that North Korea has gotten their hands on now, and continue to transfer the type of fuel that keeps the economy going. What we're urging this president to do at this point is what was done once before with Banco Delta Asia, and that is shut down any foreign banks doing any kind of business in hard currency with North Korea, because when we last did that, we shut off the money for their program, and we shut it down tight as a drum. And I think that's the next step that has to be deployed.
President Trump was asked if the Moab bomb that the U.S. dropped on Afghanistan a few days ago was intended to send a message to North Korea. Take a listen to his response.
I don't know if this sends a message. It doesn't make any difference if it does or not. North Korea is a problem. The problem will be taken care of.
The North Koreans are calling President Trump reckless and warning of a dangerous situation in which a thermonuclear war may break out any moment. Do you think the military actions by the U.S. in Syria and in Afghanistan were in any way designed to send a message to Pyongyang about President Trump's willingness to use military force?
I don't presume that that was the reason for either of those attacks. What I do presume is that it is the reason for the negotiations with China right now, because there is the realization that if China does cut off all transactions with North Korea, we'll be in a position where, once again, the dictator will not be able to pay his generals. That's what happened the last time we had these kinds of sanctions imposed on Chinese banks, some 10 banks, back during Banco Delta Asia. So I think that's the negotiation right now. That's the leverage. And we need that kind of political leverage, because that's the way to get the attention of the regime in North Korea and have them reconsider on their nuclear program.
Do you have any indication that the White House is considering the measure that you're talking about, sanctioning these 10 Chinese banks that do business with North Korea?
I do, and I also have additional legislation that I and Eliot Engel, our ranking Democratic member, are putting forward right now in order to go with third-party sanctions on some additional financial institutions worldwide and cut off the ability of North Korea to use what's called slave labor. This is the indentured servitude, where the money comes back into North Korea for their workers that they send out to neighboring states. We are looking at shutting off every dime of money that goes in there, because it's very expensive to run a program like this. And if you cannot pay for the foreign parts, and if you get the cooperation from China, you can shut it down, and we must shut it down.
There are concerns, of course, sir, as I don't need to tell you or anybody in California, that North Korea could build a nuclear weapon that could reach your home state of California. The Pentagon spent more than $40 billion since the 90s, trying to build a defense system. But the LA Times recently wrote of the program called GMD, quote, in 9 simulated attacks since GMD was deployed in 2004, interceptors have failed to take out their targets 6 times. How worried are you about your home state of California being fully protected from a nuclear attack from North Korea?
Well, Jake, when you consider the fact that the missile that you saw in the parade was actually capable of being fired from a submarine, it's not just California. Yes, I'm very worried about this program, and that's why I say when we have a strategy that worked in the past, and frankly, sanctions worked on South Africa, when you really deploy them with international support, you can get a regime like the South African regime to give up its atomic weapon, and frankly, that also ended apartheid there. When we have something that has been that effective and we know how to do it, we must do it now because we have such little time left before they finally work out this capability of miniaturizing this weapon that they now have, and they may have enough inventory for 100 of these, and then can put them in the ICBMs, which they've been testing. This is the urgency.
Congressman Ed Royce, a Republican of California, the chairman of the House Foreign Relations Committee. Thank you so much for joining us today. We appreciate it, and happy Easter to you and your family.
Thank you, Jake. Happy Easter to you, too.